Well, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to tonight's second half. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into tonight's second half, shall we? First and foremost, before we even get into this upload, I want to apologize if I offend anybody or make anyone butthurt. The word conspiracy. To me, the word conspiracy, a long time ago, used to mean aluminum foil hat. Aliens. That crazy guy that doesn't leave his house, peers out his window. Now the word conspiracy means loss of freedom. The government stealing our freedom. As Americans, we are given a sense of, or we are given our freedoms. We have our rights. And for those of you who live out of the country, as a human being, you have rights. It's just, unfortunately, some other countries don't have what us Americans have, but as human beings, we all have certain rights given to us. We Americans have more, which is sad, but that's not why I'm here. The word conspiracy, I think, to me, was created by the government, was created by the 1%, the Bilderbergs, who really just run this country, run the world. Feed us the narrative that they want us to hear. Now, I've been looking into strange animal attacks, or quote unquote animal attacks that really aren't animal attacks, for the last 3 years. Brenda Hamilton was my first, Nancy Shaw. Then it went to Christopher Whiteley, Tony Aarons, Amber Miller, Ducky in Florida. I could keep going. Christopher Whiteley is a mind-blowing experience. Richard Timothy Honecker out of Virginia just recently. But Christopher Whiteley, you've got the Sheriff's Department, Hood County Sheriff's Department, fighting with Fish and Game. They're saying it was a mountain lion, the Sheriff's Department. Fish and Game says, no, it was not a mountain lion. We don't know what it was, but this poor guy was torn up in a small piece of woods and never made it to work this day, but we don't know what it was. And we'll never share any information with the news or the American populace. So right there, we lost freedoms. We lost our freedom not knowing what happened to this poor man. His family lost their freedoms. His mom, his dad, his brother, his sister, his aunt, his cousin, whatever, girlfriend. They lost their freedoms by knowing or not knowing what happened to him. The word conspiracy is thrown around YouTube a lot. And then people sometimes don't take me serious when it comes to these attacks and my looking into them, because I have a platform and I don't alienate anyone. If you reach out to me and you say, Jeff, I have an encounter, I'm going to allow you to share your experience on my channel. And then you've got people that are like, did he vet this person? No, I didn't. Why? Because I wasn't there. I don't know what. I can't tell him he can't, or her, they can't share on this channel. I wasn't there. So I don't know if they're telling the truth or lying or what. But the important thing is I have a platform that I can allow them to share their experience on. And you guys can formulate your own opinion on that. Just like the videos I share with you. Little video clips. I have no idea what they are, if they're real or not. But I share them so you guys can formulate your own opinions on them. There are two different things between me allowing people to share or narrating their experience and my investigations into these strange quote unquote animal attacks and cover-ups. One of the biggest cover-ups that I've seen in the last couple of years is Tony Aaron's Amber Miller, Cott County, Tennessee. Sheriff Armando Fuentes. He's a bad man. He is not a good person, not doing his job, lying to his public. Shouldn't even be in charge of the sheriff's department there. Because that's a huge cover-up. And if you don't believe me, you can look into the cases that I've done videos on. They actually tried to frame a person, a scapegoat. It's absolutely insane. I'll talk about it quickly in a few minutes, but I have talked about these attacks, and they mean the world, like they mean a lot to me, because I want to know the truth. This channel is everything to me because I want to know the truth. I stand with you guys. I don't stand for you. I stand with you because I'm right here with you in the dark. Who puts us in the dark but our local, state, county, federal governments, the 1%, the old Bilderbergs, feeding us their BS narrative. There's strange connections, and, it's crazy that because I have the platform and I don't vet people, because I don't feel it I don't feel like I have the right to. But then you've got these channels or people who will claim that they were whatever, ex-military, ex-police, this and that. Let's share a creepypasta I found on Reddit, no sleep, or I found on Reddit, let's not meet. And people buy it hook, line, and sinker. Crazy. But because I don't say, no, I don't buy your story, you can't share it on my channel, I get looked as I'm garbage, BS. Which is crazy, because I'm just like you guys. I want the truth. I'm like everyone else. And I'm going to continue to do what I do, because there's only one way we'll ever even we're never ever going to get what we want and deserve, because their armor is far too thick, the ones who control the narrative. But we can put a kink in it, can't we? And that's what I'm here trying to do. And with all of your help, I think we will eventually. These cover-ups are labeled conspiracies because that word, I believe that word was created by the Bilderberg 1% to make the people that ask questions look like we're insane when we're not. We just want answers. That's it. Anyway, if I offended anybody during that little rant, I apologize. I didn't mean to. I've got some information that I want to share with you. Hunts of dogmen by law enforcement that connect, and I can connect them all together. It's so wild. And prove to you that there is a cover-up and conspiracy. Let's get into it. So I said a few minutes ago that I was going to say something about the Cott County, Tennessee cover-up. Amber Miller, Tony Aarons. Tony Aarons was found dead April 1st. Amber Miller, 2 months later, in July. Amber died in the hospital. There were certain things all throughout the news articles that were fed to us that were just BS. She never regained consciousness. And yet, in one article, it stated that she had made a statement about something falling in the bushes or something like that. But she never regained consciousness. And we know this from her mom and her friend who were there. We also know it from other news articles that doctors had stated. She was in a medically induced coma. She had sepsis. Her arm was torn off. Her leg it was terrible. So there's kind of, that's a cover-up. That's a conspiracy cover. That's just BS is what it is. But it's a lie, and it's stealing our freedom of information. Tony Aarons destroyed the same way, just savagely taken, just ripped apart. Then they look at a low criminal, low swinging criminal, and just really kind of make this poor guy's life a hell. There is still no solution or no outcome. No answer. Nothing. But they dragged this poor man through the mud, and I believe that there was a bullet hole found in his trailer. He made a report stating that someone had shot at his trailer. I believe that the police department did. I believe that they tried to silence him because he knew what was going on. And there's a lot that just is criminal about this case and how the law enforcement agencies responsible for it handled it. They handled it dirty. If it was you or I doing this stuff, we'd be in jail. Where are they? Well, Fuentes is posting Facebook pages or posts with an AR-15 and pink tutu, joking and laughing. We would be in jail if it's insane. So right there, it's just, that's a conspiracy. It's a cover-up. It's BS is what it is, my friends. Here's another one. I received this email in March 30th of 2018. Here we go. Hey, Jeff. I'm at work, working a double. Sorry it took me some time to get back to you. I'm on lunch now. My name is Kay. I'm an African-American male, 34 years old, 6'3", 275. I'm in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement for 5 years now. I recently transferred to Pennsylvania a year ago. 4 months after settling in, there was a call through dispatch that came through as there was a minivan on the side of the road in a ditch that the driver believed he had hit a black bear, lost control of his vehicle, and went off to the side of the road. Minutes later, it approached the van trying to get in. It's a husband, wife, and their 13-year-old son, so at the time I'm the closest to the scene, 5 minutes west on 78 West. So I got to the area. It took me 10 minutes to find them. I approached the vehicle. There are claw marks a half an inch deep. I announce myself to them. They are hysterically sobbing. I'm trying to calm them down. I ask where the bear is. It must have heard you coming and took off. I call for emergency services. They are 20 minutes out. The family doesn't want to get out of their vehicle, and I assure them that the bear is gone and I need to see who is injured. At that moment, I hear a low, powerful growl from behind. I was facing the family. My back is to the woods. I look at the husband, and his eyes are as big as saucers, and I knew the bear had returned. I slowly unholster my service pistol at the time, which was a 9mm. I slowly turn around and realize that this is not a bear. Standing 40 feet away on all fours was a monstrosity. Then it stood up and let out this roar, which messed with my mobility. I couldn't move, and me with this pea shooter against an 8-foot beast. I'm the only thing between him and this family. As I looked into those orange eyes, hair blacker than night, I knew what its intentions were. I'm going to kill and eat you, and there is not a thing you can do to stop me. Shooting at it would just upset it. I had no choice, so I took aim for the head. It charged. I fired 2 shots. I missed. The other grazed its ear. It started running in a zigzag pattern. Fired 3 more. They missed. Fired 1, hit it in the ass. It yelped. Fired 1, hitting it in the thigh, and it took off. EMS show up. It doesn't come back. Police report. Deformed bear with rabies attack. Critically, was fired upon and took off. Large amount of paperwork for firing my weapon and the amount of bullets used. I've had nightmares for months. Finding me at my home and ripping me to shreds. That's my first encounter. Please email me if you have any questions. I will send you my second shortly. Of course, I do email him. I thank him for sharing and tell him to take his time on his second experience. I have no idea what his second experience is. I get this. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, I found out 80% of our police departments know about this and have certain people within the organization that take over cryptid reports, because once I turned in my report, I spoke with a person who I had never met before, asking me about specifics, about his terms. I quote, "Tell me everything you can remember about this so-called black bear," which I did. After the questioning, I went to my supervisor asking him who that was and why so interested in the animal. His response is above all our pay grades. Be sure to comply and you'll be fine. At lunch tonight, I'll share my second and last encounter, which turned into a missing person and government cover-up. Jeff, how's it going? Hope you're feeling better. Ever since my first encounter, I'm heavily strapped 90% of the time with a high-powered pistol or rifle, always watching my 6 since I've been awakened to a new reality. My second encounter only happened by chance because that night it was 40 minutes until my shift was over. There were some local officers responding to a young man in his mid-20s who had threatened someone's life. This took place in the town of Bethel Park, PA. So as the 2 officers approached, he took off, cutting through areas inaccessible to vehicles, then later getting into a vehicle and took off. They were able to locate this vehicle at, I believe, South Park, PA, minutes from the last known area. That's where I met up with the 2 officers, and we decided we were going to spend 30 minutes to try to locate him. At the time, his name, Michael Rickard. I went to my vehicle, I grabbed my Desert Eagle, and strapped my rifle over my back. The 2 officers had this dude, WTF, we don't think he's that dangerous. I whispered back, this is not for him. 5 minutes into the search, I see the telltale signs that something was not right, and I urge the officers that we should head back. They start laughing, saying, "We got this, you're safe with us." Then in the distance, we hear a man screaming bloody murder, followed by a roar and a howl from a different location. My Desert is already unholstered. Since we started this trek, I see a young man in the distance, hauling ass to us, and something 100 yards away giving chase. As I'm about to open fire upon the one giving chase, another one had snuck up on us without a noise and stepped out of the brush. The two officers, too scared to unholster their weapons. It stood about 7 feet tall, 300 plus pounds, brown hair, shark-like teeth, big eyes, long muzzle, like a German shepherd, extremely ugly. I had a new target. First shot better count as it's 20 yards away. As I'm ready to fire, I hear another scream. I look back in the direction of Michael. He and the Dogman are gone. I look back at the other one, and it is gone. I was able to get the two officers to retreat to their vehicles. We called our supervisor, told him what happened. They end up meeting up with us 7 miles from the station. The same guy from the previous encounter was there with his partner. They debriefed us and told us we are sworn to secrecy, signed non-disclosures, and that we were never here. And the call never happened. It is now a missing persons. March 30th, 2018, I received those emails. Michael Rickard is a real person. This is not a story. This is not make-believe. March 11th, 2018, Bethel Park. Police say a man wanted who was supposed to turn himself in is now missing. According to police, 25-year-old Michael Rickard was supposed to turn himself in on outstanding warrants on March 7th, but he was reported missing and endangered through the National Crime Information Center that same day. Facebook post says Rickard was a Marine veteran. Last seen at 10 a.m., March 7th, described as 5'9", 180, hazel eyes, dark brown or black hair, has a beard and short buzzed hairstyle. He has tattoos on his upper arm, chest, leg, and stomach. Facebook post says Rickard lives along the T-line Route 88 by Planet Fitness in Bethel Park. Anyone who sees Rickard or knows of his whereabouts is asked to call the Bethel Park Police Department. April 6th, 2020. 2 years. Bethel Park, PA. Bethel Park Police Chief tells Channel 11 human remains were found in the brush near trolley tracks. The scene was near Route 88 meets Beagle Drive. The investigation turned over to the Allegheny County Police and medical examiner's office to determine more information. Police said the possible remains were found by a person walking near the area, and there was nothing suspicious so far in this investigation. The deceased was identified Tuesday, 27-year-old Michael Rickard. Anyone with any information concerning this incident is asked to call the county police tip line, 1-833-ALL-TIPS. Callers can remain anonymous. So just recently, I shared another experience that is a government cover-up as well. A guy, a subscriber from Delaware, was in Pennsylvania camping, and he and his campsite neighbors killed a Dogman. Ironically enough, and there is a connection to these two, beside it being in Pennsylvania, but the gentleman that is from Delaware had studied teeth and other kind of stuff, fossils, I believe. He mentions straight across the board, this Dogman had teeth like a shark or alligator, and they fit perfectly together. What's this guy Kay say? Kay says, teeth like a shark. Hand in hand, my friends. Hand in hand. Cover up. I literally just shared 2 within those 2 minutes right there. They want to keep us not knowing anything. They want to keep us dumb. They want to dumb us down. We are not dumb. Human beings are far from dumb. But the Bilderbergs, the 1%, they want to keep us dumb or uninformed Uninformed would be the politically correct term, right? All right, so there's a Dogman shootout with police department. Here's another one. Now, it is my belief, my opinion, that if K had killed a Dogman that evening, this would be his story as well. Also, this kind of connects to the Delaware gentleman. If there's too many connections, too many little pieces that fit together to deny the existence of these things, and then to deny that the government is covering it up and covering these attacks up. It blows my mind. It really does. And it drives me insane. And I think that we need to stand united to put a kink in their armor. That 1% armor. That golden spoon. I'd like to start by telling you that I've followed and subscribed to your channel for about a year now. Memories of my encounter a little over 16 years ago were stirred up from the ambulance encounter you talked about. I was also contacted recently by a government agency and given the all clear to move back home when I am ready. This will become more clear in telling my experience. Also to note, this is not my real name, and this is junk email. I still work for the government service and do not want to be identified. Back in the fall of 2003, I was working as a sheriff's deputy approximately 75 miles west of Denver, Colorado. I was young and new, fresh off the field training and almost off of probation. It was late afternoon, and I was dispatched to a call about a bear outside of a caller's home. I acknowledged the call and traveled to the location. I was less than 5 minutes out. A minute before arriving, I was called over the radio that a bear is now outside of another house, but this one is 2 miles away. I thought that's odd, that there was a bear and it covered that much ground in a short period of time. Back up 15 minutes out or more, as there were only 4 deputies, including myself, on shift. I rerouted myself to the new call as the person on the phone said it was outside of his home at this point. Upon my arrival, I pulled out my department-issued Remington 870. This one was a loaner, as it was a supervisor's 14-inch barrel model. I ejected 1 round of buck and loaded it with a Spear 1-ounce high brass slug into the chamber, followed by 2 more into the tube. My last 2 shots would be the standard issue Federal Premium Copper-Coated double-aught buck. Knocked on the door, and a woman in her mid to late 30s answers. She is shaking, telling me that the bear was outside of her rear window of her home. She saw the back of the head and one eye looking at her. She said that when she noticed it, it moved away from the window, growled, and hit or scratched the home. She wanted me to check the area and make sure it was gone, as her 2 kids would be returning home from school after school practice. I don't remember what that was. I had maybe an hour of daylight left. I radioed to backup that I would be checking the area behind the home for the bear. Backup deputy number 1 was 5 to 7 minutes out. Backup deputy 2 went to the other house for the first call. This was due to the first caller getting more afraid and wanting a deputy there. Walking my way through the backyard, I look at the window where the homeowner said it was. When she saw it, the window is almost 6 feet from where I was standing. I thought to myself, that'd be a big bear. I noticed scratches in the siding of the home at the bottom of the window. They're pretty deep, 5 lines running from a 1 to 7 o'clock position. I then made my way to the woodline past her backyard. I walked straight into her woods and came upon a small creek. The banks of the creek were several feet wide, the water running through it approximately 10 feet wide, 6 to 8 inches deep. The bank of the creek raised approximately 3 feet on both sides. Following the creek about 50 yards into the forest, I saw a large brown furry animal walking away from me on all 4s. At this time, I clicked off the safety of the shotgun. I was walking along the dry bank of the creek and trying to make my way up to firmer ground, but the bushes along the high portion of the creek blocked me. I then moved my way toward a tree along the bank. As I had just passed it, was an opening to a higher ground. When I got to the tree, I switched the shotgun to my left hand and used my right to grab onto the tree. I heard the animal heard me, turned towards me, stood up. I then thought to myself, this is no bear. Just then, a huge face of a wolf appears literally a foot away from me, from the brush by the tree. I'm screwed. It was like the scene out of Jurassic Park where the raptor surprises the hunter from the side and kills him. I did the only thing I could think and let go of the tree to fall to the bank below, just to create some space. The creature was far too fast and grabbed my right arm and held me in place, its massive hand covering 3/4 of my forearm, and I felt searing hot pain of one of its claws penetrating my department coat, digging into the inside of my forearm. The creature looked into my eyes, grinned and growled or laughed, as it was the oddest growl I'd ever heard. I used all my strength and my left hand wrenched the shotgun around and pointed at the creature, pulled the trigger. I don't think the creature even saw the shotgun until it was too late. I nailed him right in the upper stomach. I was released and fell to the creek bed. I had an unusually soft landing, or just didn't feel anything at the time. I switched the shotgun to my right hand, racked it, and fired at the only thing I could see. Its head. I saw the jawbone fly, and then it was quiet. I immediately remembered the other creature up the creek turn, and I saw 3 more standing 35 yards away. I racked the last slug into the chamber and fired at them. My round grazed the center creature's ribcage. It let out a yelp, and I fired the last 2 rounds of buck. I know the spread hit all of them. They all darted up an opposite side of the creek from me, and out of sight I unholstered my Glock 21 and fired another 6 rounds at one of the creatures when it returned to the creek bank. It then ran back into the woods. Both other deputies heard the shots and came to my aid. I needed 6 stitches to close the cut on my forearm. Every off-duty deputy was called in to look for the 3 bear, but nothing was found. The one body on the scene was guarded by the sheriff and his major. The feds show up from Denver in about an hour. I was asked a lot of questions, asked multiple times if I was bit. I also had blood drawn 3 times over for the next 3 days. I was told checking for rabies, which I know they weren't looking for that. At the medical center, after getting stitched up and cleared, Agent Bob, this is what I will call him to this day, in his thick southern accent, came to me, told me he was impressed that I did not die from coming upon 4 bear, and the one that I killed was a very large one. He gave me a handwritten card with his number on it, told me to call him if I saw any more bear. I asked him if I should stock up on silver, kinda tongue-in-cheek move on my part, telling him that I know what we're really talking about. To my shock, he told me it wouldn't be a bad idea, but a slug to the head seemed to work. The sheriff came in, told me he was giving me a commendation for protecting the public from a crazed bear, and to take the next 6 weeks off with pay to heal from my injury. The first Dogman that grabbed me is described as all black with shades of gray mixed coat. The eyes were pure gold with small circular wisps of black. There was no eye shine as it was still daylight, and it purposely got in my face to show its dominance. In fact, it was so close I could see the dark plaque build up on its front teeth and canine. The closest image is the one that you use of the Dogman face in the grass. The first time I saw that image, it gave me an instant flashback. Funny thing, really quick, the guy, the ambulance driver, and Robert both said the same thing about that picture. The way it looked at me, grabbed me, I saw extreme intelligence in its eyes. It was blind luck that I survived. If I did not click off the safety of that shotgun or maintained a firing grip when I transferred it to my left hand, I would not be here today. Before I left the medical center, I was able to look at the body after my sector partner bandaged my arm to control the bleeding. There wasn't much left of the face. The ears were like a German shepherd's, but with tufts at the peak. The hand almost reached its knees. The hands were massive, and the claws did not look like they grew out like fingernails, but were an extension of the fingertips. I picked up the hand, and one of the other deputies said, "Should you be doing that? It might be carrying diseases." I said, "We already tangled, so I'm pretty much already done." The hand felt leathery, and the claws were not that sharp, but with the force they were being driven at, it could cause a lot of damage. This male had what I call a slight chest puff, like a mini mane some dogs have. The legs and feet looked like how we would look if we walked on only the balls of our feet, with the heel being more of a joint. Unlike a dog, this one had 5 toes, not 4, but it still looked larger pawed foot. There was no tail that I could see, but the body was lying on its back. I stretched out its left leg and estimated its height to be approximately 8.5 feet. I'm not good with weight, but the feds needed 2 Kubotas to drag this thing out of a woods to an awaiting 3500 truck. The second Dogman, or dog person, was smaller in build than the first, but it was later found out to be a female. I believe this one was trying to distract me while the male sprung its trap. She was a dark brown in color. The other 2 appeared to be a male and both similar looking to the one I killed. Now, that description are out of the way, I'll move on to the rest of the experience and where I have been relocated by the feds. I was dropped off that evening to my small home. It's a nice 1,050 square foot, all brick, 2-bed, 2-bath home on 3/4 an acre, perfect for a single guy. Nearest neighbor is 600 yards away. My parents helped me purchase it when I got my job. My parents live in Denver. I was greeted by my small female German Shepherd, Lucy. She was happy to see me, but kept smelling me and tucking her tail. After getting cleaned up and changed, she was all kisses and hugs. Next morning, I check in with the sheriff's office. When I pulled into the parking lot, I noticed at least 6 Fed vehicles and a Fed armored vehicle, like today's Bearcat. I went in, met with the sheriff. Sheriff handed me my commendation letter and told me to read it carefully, as the feds were all over the place. He also told me that our Fed friends were staying in town for the next few days to help the department try and locate any more bear. I went out to my car and took out my letter. Inside was a note that said, "Meet the clerk at the courthouse, name redacted." I traveled there and met with redacted. She handed me another envelope and told me to read the letter there. I opened the envelope, read the handwritten letter from the sheriff, and it read as follows: "Son, I cannot help you in your time of need. My hands are tied and I'm being watched. So are you. Agents are using you as bait. You are being followed by them, but I don't think they are here to protect you. Protect yourself however you can. Do not leave and go home to your parents, as others may come back for you. When we get through this, we can have our talk on what I know. You have 1 down, 6 to go." After I was done reading it, she shredded it and flushed it. Over the next week, I went to all of my doctor appointments, which were held in a mobile command center by a doctor I have never seen. She was nice, but barely said a word. Agent Bob stopped by and asked if everything was okay at home. I told him everything was fine. He said, "Great." On his way out, he looked back at me and said, "Trust your dog." I always carried my Glock 21 with 3 additional mags, and at home I loaded my own personal Remington 1187P shotgun, similar to the one I carry at work, but this one was semi-automatic and held 7-1. I loaded it full of slugs and set it down by my bedroom. Thank God, Pops, for the police academy graduation party. On night 11, I awoke at 2 in the morning. My dog was whimpering and growling. I could hear what sounded like multiple footsteps outside of my home. I had my blinds closed in my bedroom and did not want to open them. I went over and picked up my shotgun, rechecked it, clicked off the safety, opened my bedroom door, and my dog ran out to the dining room area. She immediately locked onto the back window. She tucked her tail and was frozen, but it was like she couldn't decide whether to bark or run. I had the desk set up in the dining area as it had my computer on it. It was a small desk There was a lamp on it next to the computer. While still in the hallway, which was dark and around the corner, I used the mirror on the opposite wall to look out the window. I saw the head of the female dogman looking into the window with a side-eyed stare, like how a real angry dog would look at you, warning you before it bit you. This time I could see the golden reflection of its eyes. I whispered the command of speak to my dog. She went apeshit barking. I then heard both of my bedroom windows shatter. I popped from around the hallway corner, lined up the rifle sights on my shotgun, pulled the trigger. The window was blown outwards. I then swung the shotgun back toward the bedroom, but could not find anything to shoot at. I then heard the diesel engine race up and stop. I then started to hear suppressed gunfire all around my home. After a few minutes, Agent Bob knocked at my door and told me the coast was clear. I saw 6 men dressed in full SWAT gear, suppressed AR-10s. Agent Bob had me walk with him to my backyard, and on the ground was a female. Agent Bob then said, "You bagged us a girl. Thanks, I've been needing one of those, and they're hard to find." There were 2 more bodies in the woods just behind my house. He said 2 got away. Bob was a little more open with me now. He never said what they were, other than bear, but told me that if he could eradicate them all, he would. But people want research, and air support would draw too much attention. He told me that I could not stay here because I'm a marked man. It took a few days, but my house was purchased by them, and I moved to a desert city. They put in a good word for me at my new department. I was quickly hired, started my new job. I am now a high rank, like brass on the collar rank, so I don't want to come out as crazy. Bob, or Agent Bob, gave me some very specific instructions on visiting my parents. One was to always fly into Denver, never drive, never go back to the county I worked in or surrounding counties. Once a year, they would ask me for some old, worn, unlaundered clothes. Agent Bob retired in 2015. He told me in one of my yearly checks, I don't know what happened in July of 2019, but I was contacted and told that any bears that may remember me have been taken care of, and all requested travel restrictions have been lifted. I will no longer be contacted by them. That is it, Jeffrey. You know everything I know. Cover up? Yes. For the common good, I believe so. Can they be killed? Yes. But only if you have luck and speed on your side and an awesome dog. R.I.P. Loyal Lucy. Finally, I feel that since everything is over now, if I tell my story, the feds are not going to care, as it'll sound like I'm crazy. The others in my group feel the same, as none of us ever signed a non-disclosure agreement. I think the feds know if we come out with our stories, we will just lose our jobs and be looked upon as kooks. So then I reached out and I asked him if he wanted to come on. He said, "I'm sorry, I haven't got back to you. Also current events, I'm working nights. I'm a lieutenant now, and promotion for captain. I planned on retiring in 4 years when I hit my 20th. I wish I could go on your show, but my voice is pretty recognizable, and I've been on TV a few times. Also, I was contacted by my last handler, and he told me not to share any more than I already had, as some of what I said can currently affect their operations. I could talk with you about my incident, but cannot divulge anything related to what they are currently doing or have done recently. They are listening to your channel. Victor may be in the same organization, but that is beyond my knowledge. Agent Bob is kind of a more serious combination of Jeff Bridges from R.I.P.D. movie and Elton Brown's impersonation of Colonel Sanders. I always liked him, as I think he bent the rules to ensure my success, surviving the revenge of the Dogman. When he said, "Trust your dog," he was telling me that she would be my early warning system. I've always had a dog since Lucy. I also wanted to add that Lucy passed away of old age in 2012. Whenever I go into a wooded environment, I now carry a Glock 20, 10mm, with some real hot loads. I also carry a 4570 Marlin 1895 SBL with 430 grain load. Since my encounter, the few times I have camped with my family has been in Montana, Utah, and Idaho. I have never run into another cryptid. Also, for insurance for myself, I still have half a jawbone recovered from the scene. I have it geocached in a location only known by myself and 2 other people. If you have any other additional questions about my encounter, please contact me. Connections, Agent Bob, and the experience with the guy who shot the Dogman in Pennsylvania. Both had Southern accents, thick Southern accents. So does Victor. And Victor always said, trust your dog. Just little connections like this show me that things aren't always what they appear to be. Robert mentioned the word cover up at the end, but for the greater good. Is it the greater good, or is that what he has been told? I don't believe it's for the greater good. I think that we should know, and we should be able to identify or defend ourselves. I think we need to be careful. The cover-ups are there, and the danger is real. Another statement made by that gentleman from Delaware. He said, I don't know who I fear more, the dogmen or the government. Well, there you have it, folks. Tonight's second half. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives people a chance and a place to share their experiences and theories judgment-free. Thank you. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real, they're out there, and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.